agents, and welcome back to another Division 2 video. So, in today's video, I'm excited to share with you guys 4 high-ranked solo PvE builds to clear through legendary difficulty with ease. Some of these builds may be more viable than others, depending on the mission. These builds are also unique, and each build is designed to suit a different playstyle. So, whether you're a fan of skill builds, high weapon damage builds, or a nice hybrid build, you may favor at least a couple of these. Okay, so let's start this top 4 list off with one of my personal favorites for clearing through any PvE content, and that's a skill damage-based solo PvE build. This skill build is super effective and, in my opinion, the most ideal solo PvE build to use for running through legendary missions in the Division 2. What makes this PvE build perfect for legendary missions is the fact that you can remain safe in cover while your skills do all the killing and hard work. So, as you can see from the gameplay footage, it just makes it so much easier to clear these NPCs as opposed to constantly moving around and repositioning yourself if you are using, let's say, a weapon damage DPS build. Using this build will make running through legendary missions way easier. Trust me. Another thing to point out is that this build is beginner friendly and doesn't require a ridiculously high expertise to perform great. All of the pieces are easy to acquire. The only tricky piece that you might have trouble getting is the exotic waveform holster. This holster is in the general loot pool, and the best way to get it is by running Countdown or Summit on Heroic and changing the targeted loot to holsters. You can also use 2 pieces of the Hana U brand set as a replacement for the waveform holster, which will give you skill haste and 10% skill damage. So this build utilizes the tech support talent for the backpack. This talent will grant you an additional 25% skill damage for a skill kill for 25 seconds. And for the chest piece, Glass Cannon will amplify all damage you deal out by 25%. However, you will also be taking 50% more damage from having Glass Cannon on, but since we will be in cover for the most part, it works out just fine. So, having 3 pieces of the Empress International brand set will give you skill health, skill damage, and skill efficiency. 1 piece of Wyvern for skill damage, 1 piece of Belstone for armor regen, although feel free to change this to whatever piece you'd like, and the exotic waveform holster, which again, if you don't have one, 2 pieces of the Hana U brand set is a great alternative, and this is because 2 pieces of Hana U will grant you 10% skill haste and skill damage, which will only increase your skill damage output. So don't worry if you don't have the waveform holster. For the weapon, you can use any gun with the InSync talent. This talent will further increase your skill damage output by giving you 15% skill damage for 5 seconds when hitting an enemy. So using a non-shield skill or damaging an enemy with a skill will also grant you 15% weapon damage. Damage increases are doubled while both buffs are active at the same time. For the specialization, Technician is the way to go. This is because you're going to get an additional 10% skill damage, which will only increase the damage of the turret and striker drone. Okay, so let's move on to the next solo PvE build on this list, Striker's Battle Gear. This gear set is extremely powerful and is a must-have for anyone. Just look at how quickly the NPCs are getting shredded. Striker is an amazing gear set, and it would make no sense not to have this as one of your loadouts. You will find it very easy to take down legendary NPCs with this build. This makes it a great legendary solo PvE build. We will be utilizing the full power of the Striker gear set with both the Striker vest and backpack. This will increase our damage output since we will be getting 200 stacks as opposed to 100 from the Striker's gamble talent thanks to the vest. The backpack, on the other hand, will increase our total weapon damage from 0.65% to 1%. If skill builds aren't your cup of tea, then you may favor this build. Having the Coyote Mask, or the American Jackal Mask, as I like to call it, equipped, will only aid in the damage output. The Coyote Mask grants additional critical hit chance and damage bonuses depending on how far you are from the target. One thing to note is that you will be gaining an additional 10% critical hit chance from just being 15 to 25 meters away having the Coyote Mask equipped, which is the optimal range for most gunfights, so it would be in your best interest not to exceed 50% critical hit chance with this build, since you will be getting an extra 10% from the Coyote Mask. Hopefully that makes sense, and I didn't just fry your brain. Basically, if you decide to wear the Coyote Mask with this build, make sure that your base critical hit chance doesn't exceed 50%. A good baseline would be from 45 to 50%. This is because critical hit chance caps out at 60%. So instead of adding more critical hit chance, this gives you an opportunity to stack more critical hit damage. For the specialization, Gunner would be the best to go with since you will get armor on kill and ammo over time. You may go all red core weapon damage with this build if you'd like. I only choose to have 4 blue core attributes for the additional shield health, and since my expertise on the St. Elmo's engine is at 22, I will still be putting out a shit ton of weapon damage. The Coyote Mask and St. Elmo's will need to be farmed for if you don't have these 2 exotic items. They can easily be attained by farming Countdown with ARs or masks selected as targeted loot. For the skills, you may use whatever fits your playstyle. Okay, so this next build on the list is suited for players who favor more survivability but would still like to deal out a decent amount of damage. We will be using the Foundry Bulwark set. This gear set grants bonuses that aid in your survivability. We will be getting 10% total armor for having 2 pieces, 3 pieces grants 1% armor regen and 50% shield health, while 4 pieces will unlock the Makeshift Repairs talent, which is great for your shield. Whenever you or your shield takes damage with this talent active, 25% of that amount is repaired to both you and your shield over 10 seconds, equipped with the Catharsis Mask, which will further increase survivability while increasing damage as well. This mask will increase your damage output every time you take damage, stacking up to 30% weapon damage. You will see a meter under your status bar that will indicate this. Once the meter is full, the mask will not only remove any status effects on your agent, but it will also release a healing cloud that heals 5% of your max armor. For the primary weapon, I'm using the Capacitor. For each skill tier, you will gain 7.5% weapon damage. Since this build has 2 skill tiers, that adds 15% weapon damage. The backpack Alps Summit will grant 20% repair skills for 1 piece. This aids in shield regeneration and overall survivability. I'm also using the talent safeguard for this backpack. While at full armor, this talent will increase total skill repair by 100%. For the skills, the Shield and Artificer Hive are great with this build. The Artificer Hive will grant skill efficiency and will reset the duration of your skills. Okay guys, this last build is super fun. This is another extremely effective solo skill PvE build. However, instead of skill damage, I'm stacking status effect on this. So this is a status effect based damage. This build works wonders when fighting the White Tusk faction. This is because the White Tusk faction is known for their use of electronics, UAV drones, warhounds, and other mechanized infantries. So we will be using the Jammer Pulse skill as well as the Bleed Hive for this build. I know, you wouldn't have guessed it, right? Using the Jammer Pulse will make it super easy to stop those annoying warhounds dead in their tracks, and the damage it does is quite surprising. Not to mention those pesky drone operators that like to sit in the back and spam you to the depths of hell with UAV drones. I like to call this the lazy solo PvE build, since all you have to do is sit and cover and use your Jammer Pulse to deal out most of the damage. And if you get rushed by an enemy, you can drop a Bleed Hive to get rid of them. One thing to keep in mind is that this build is heavily dependent on the exotic Vile Mask, which is the reason why our Jammer Pulse will be dealing out damage over time. Having this mask equipped will make all status effects apply additional damage over time for 10 seconds. In addition, the total damage dealt is equal to 50% of your concussion grenade damage and is further increased by your status effect attributes. So stacking up on explosive damage and status effect is the way to go. The Demolitionist specialization will grant 10% increased explosive damage, and having 3 pieces of the China Lightbrand set will give you 15% explosive damage, 20% skill haste, and 20% status effect, which is really nice. Then having 2 pieces of the Grupo Sombra brand set will grant you 20% explosive damage. For the talents, I'm using the perfect shock and awe talent that comes with the named China Light Bag, Strategic Alignment. This talent will increase your skill damage and repair by 20% by applying a status effect to an enemy. The only tricky thing about this build is dealing with the heavy White Tusk NPCs with the oversized minigun. These guys have a ton of armor, so having the Scorpio with this build will be great since you can shock them, making it great for crowd control. And another thing to keep in mind is that these heavy NPCs have a Bleed Hive within their proximity, so be careful and keep your distance from them because they can easily ruin your day. These big guys don't believe in reloading their weapons whatsoever. So that was 4 great solo legendary PvE builds for The Division 2. Keep in mind that these builds may work better in certain missions than others, so you may want to switch through these different builds as you progress through the legendary mission. That will be it for today's video, guys. If you made it this far, you are a trooper and an amazing person. This is Prajna, and thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. Until next time, keep it cool, keep it classy, peace out.